Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. For this viewer response video, it seemed appropriate that I have out my dad's Kaywoodie number 5 campus. We're going to be saying something that, or touching on something that has to do with the college campus, the university campus. So I thought I'd bring that back out. And of course, my own undergraduate alma mater, got the IU hat on. So what did this viewer say, and what is my response to it? As always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. Several months ago, I'd done a video, and I'm actually going to pull it up, what we get out of reading. And I'll link to that in the notes. But a fellow named Ron, who comments quite frequently on the videos, so Ron, thank you for this. He said some nice things about the video, and then he concluded, he said, I would like to hear your thoughts on censorship. So, thought I'd do that. Thought I'd give you some thoughts on censorship. And we do often think about it, or at least I am going to think about it in this video, in terms of reading censorship, the censoring of reading materials, access to reading materials, especially on high school and college campuses, hence the Kaywoodie Campus and the IU hat. The verb, or the word censorship, censor and that kind of thing, comes from the Latin verb censeo, censere, which is a word that has to do with really counting, reckoning, making an assessment of something. The censor in Roman government was a position that was over the census. And really the word census is related to censorship. And you say, well, how in the world is that possible? Well, the censor, C-E-N-S-O-R, classical Latin pronounces it with the hard C, was in charge of the census, counting the citizens of Rome. But then also going through and purging the senatorial roll for anyone who was guilty of some morals violation. Right, so go down the list. You're okay, you're okay, you're okay. Oh, this guy took a bribe. He needs to go. You're okay, you're okay, you're okay. This guy fooled around with that guy's wife. You need to go. So the censor did both of those things, and so we got these two separate words really now. The census, counting of people, and then what we think of as censorship. And the work of a censor. And I can tell you that my thoughts are varied on this. And how they break down really has to do with age. I absolutely believe in censorship when it comes to access of reading materials and other materials for younger people. Okay? There are some things that are not appropriate for a 3rd grader or a 5th grader or a 7th grader, maybe even a 10th grader or junior in high school, because quite frankly the material's too advanced. Okay? It's too advanced to throw Shakespeare at a 3rd grader. It's too advanced to throw theoretical physics works at most high school juniors. So there's a censorship in that regard based on what's appropriate developmentally, cognitively. And we make those decisions all the time, and nobody has any problem with that. Nobody really kind of thinks about that as censorship, but in a way it is, because you're making a determination of saying, hey, we're going to make these materials available and these materials we will hold off. hold away until perhaps another time. Now, of course, what most people think about when it comes to censorship of materials, and again, I'm saying particularly with reading, and I'm not even going to get into music or graphic art or film or these kinds of things. We'll stay with reading, since the comment was originally on a video about reading. We're thinking about content in terms of what's appropriate, and let's just be honest, most of the time we're talking about the S word, right? We're talking about sexual situations that are depicted in literature. There's good extent of violence as well. War accounts. Perhaps even accounts of abuse. Okay. Crime. So what do I think about that? Well, again, there are certain things that are simply inappropriate for younger minds. Think about the old joke about a little boy comes home from school, a little elementary school age boy, and says to his parents, where do babies come from? Mom and Dad are a little surprised. Weren't ready to have the talk just yet. And so they go into the whole shebang, all right? They get done with the talk. Little boy says, well, I was just asking because my friend Billy, he said he came from St. Vincent Hospital. The parents misunderstood the question. And quite frankly, they gave the boy more information than he was ready for. Billy came from St. Vincent Hospital. I just want to know where babies come from. Where did I come from? Okay, so he wasn't ready for all the other. And I absolutely believe that. And the same thing, I think, goes with violence. I think there's comic book violence and, very early on, Batman and Superman and that kind of stuff, right? I don't think we're ready to show or have children read, for example, the things they carried, the extraordinary book, and especially the essay in it, How to Tell a True War Story. Ooh, that's rough. And I don't think a junior high student's ready for it. I would question whether some high school students are ready for that. And I think when you get into the university level, we're talking young adults, but they are adults. Right? Even in the most age-restrictive areas, especially in the United States, by the time you're to university level, we've given you the right to drive a motor vehicle. We've said you have the right to consume an alcoholic beverage. You've got we'll allow you to pick up a weapon and take a human life in defense of the country, right, in the military. So if you can do all those kinds of things, then I think pretty much anything is fair game. Now, not everything is beneficial, to be sure. I am not in favor of widespread censorship in terms of what can be published, though. And it may surprise some viewers on this channel. You say, Steve, aren't you talk about Christianity a lot. Aren't you a Christian? Are you seriously saying that all kinds of things should be able to be published in our society? And for the most part, I would say yes. I had a teacher one time. He made a comment. He said, people need to take those adult bookstores out of my community so I don't have to go into them. And he was making the point, our engagement with such material, that's a matter of choice. All right? If it's not profitable, it's not going to sell. And there have been times when the Christian faith was censored. So I'm not sure that I want, and this is a delicate issue. And I remember a pastor talking about a particular issue one time in church, and he said, "This is not a hill I'm willing to die on." He said, "I'm going to tell you where we stand as a church on this particular issue, based on understanding of Scripture and so forth. But this is not a particular hill I'm willing to die on." And with regarding to that particular issue that he was talking about, he was right. Now there are some hills worth dying on. So I appreciate Ron's question, and as you can kind of tell even in this video, I'm still thinking through this. I don't have a perfectly set answer. I think one of the hallmarks of life in the United States has been our freedom of speech, which includes the freedom to say, to write things that other people disagree with. Aaron Sorkin, the man behind the television series The West Wing, had written a movie prior to that. In fact, The West Wing was really inspired by the movie, The American President, starring Michael Douglas as the President of the United States. And at one point, he's delivering a press conference, and he says, "America is advanced citizenship." He says, "You got to want it, because it'll fight back against you." He says, "You got to be willing to defend the right of the person standing next to you, to defend at the top of his voice that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours." So I do think America is advanced citizenship. I think this is difficult, and as is often noted, it's not for, how can we put this? It's not for an immoral people. To live in this kind of society, to work this kind of stuff out, you've got to think, and you've got to wrestle with the deep issues. And I'm not saying America's only for geniuses, right? We're going to be a nation of Einsteins. Not at all. Don't hear that at all. But in the United States, to wrestle with the issues of freedoms and liberties and license, and how far can license go, and what's the difference between freedom and liberty and license, and what's the overlap among those things. I think these are questions to wrestle with. And how can we wrestle if we don't know what other people are thinking? If we don't know what other people are saying? So, yes, I think censorship is important. I think in certain ways, I think teachers need to be safeguards for their children. I think parents, first and foremost. Even school librarians need to say, hey, you know what, there's certain things we're not going to stock on the library shelves. I think even in high school, the yearbook sponsor and the newspaper sponsor, the journalism teacher, needs to say, hey, there's certain things we're not going to cover. Student comes up with an idea, hey, let's talk about this. Not appropriate for our culture. And here's why. And I think then you have to be able to say why. And in terms of culture at large, I'll say this. I'm really not interested in seeing the government, be it state level or federal, putting restrictions on what people can say, what they can write. So this one, folks, boy, I want your thoughts. I'm not going to censor your thoughts. What do you think? Ron, thank you so much for the comment. I appreciate it, brother. And I really want to hear what you guys have to think. Folks, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.